Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Beau Biden, this fellow right here, one of Joe Biden's sons, died of brain cancer. And after he died, they created a foundation for him for the protection of children. The Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children. Very important organization. We all know how much Joe Biden likes children. And so we're going to take a look today at their mission. What is this all set up for? Why did they create this foundation? And is it doing what it said it was going to do? There were millions of dollars generated, but not all of it went anywhere other than really a couple of the Biden family cronies. Let's break this down. You can see this is the Beau Biden Foundation, millions of dollars generated to further this mission. It says our mission. It says, we believe that child abuse can be prevented through effectively educating adults and children. Okay. It says developing the next generation of child welfare professionals and engineering child protection laws around the country. All right, well, sounds good. I mean, everybody wants to protect the children. And they say, we believe, as Beau did, okay, that no child should be threatened by a predator, either an adult or a peer, that child abuse is preventable. We believe that the best way to prevent child abuse is to educate adults and children. Don't abuse your children to adults. Don't abuse them. Maybe that'll work. We believe the time is now to identify and train the next generation of child welfare professionals. And we believe strengthening national child protection laws is urgent and it's an attainable goal. Okay, so it's like they're going to pass laws, they're going to give trainings to professionals, and they're going to educate adults. So, all right. So it's a foundation, and they're out there to do a bunch of good work, and we support that work. Now, here's the problem. The New York Post is reporting that this was founded in June 2015, right after a month after Beau Biden died of cancer. And what do? How do they solve these problems? Well, they conduct virtual and in-person workshops for adults to train them, starting at $500, according to its website. Now, it holds, which is pretty expensive for a nonprofit charitable organization. Most of those things. So, for example, I am highly involved in a nonprofit organization called ericshouse.org. And at our organization, a huge portion of the services we provide are donated by scholarship, right? And we do have sessions that we will charge for, but they're quite low. And anybody who can't afford it typically gets a scholarship that's funded by the donations. So this is kind of an interesting model. It says it also holds sessions for kids on issues like bullying and internet safety. One of 3 nonprofits tied to the Biden family. The Beau Biden family, as we can see from the New York Post, brought in $3.9 million in 2020. A lot of money. And I want to pin this for us. We have 2 sort of interesting things happening here. Number one is we're going to compare and contrast the $3.9 million that was generated in 2020 versus the amount generated in 2019 and prior to that, before Daddy was running for the presidency. We're also going to see how much of that $3.9 million went anywhere meaningful. Only a fraction of that went to help kids, according to the Post. Obviously. The Delaware-based charity, which has started in honor of Beau, got an infusion of $1.8 million from the Biden Foundation before that group shut down in 2020. So you see what happens? The Bidens have a number of different charities and they have to shut them down. They just move it over to Beau's. Oh, I can't use my charity anymore. I'm president now in 2020. Oh, yeah. How about my dead son who suddenly cares about kids? We're going to just take our slush fund, $1.8 million, and just throw it over to his charity. No problem. And none of that's going to go to kids, as we're going to see. The Biden Foundation was started by Joe Biden and his wife to champion progress and prosperity for American families. Don't you hate this garbage? It's like garbage language. We've been hearing this for 40 years, as long as he's been in office. Things are getting worse. Here, it says the Biden charity also took $225,000 from entities tied to a top political donor and a bundler for President Biden. We're going to break all this down in more detail here. Despite a $2 million plus windfall, the organization only put $500,000 in 2020. They make 500,000. $500,000 goes out to its stated purpose of protecting children, according to their own tax filings. They're on their website. Here is what it says. You can go over there, the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children. Here are their fundraising disclosures. And so you can just look at their tax returns if you want to. Here they say the Beau Biden Foundation protects children. Further transparency. We're going to be putting this stuff on the internet now. Great. So we'll take a look at this. In 2020, we have this tax form posted, 990. Here's what it looks like. The Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children. We got their EIN number, we got their address, we know exactly what's going on. And here they tell us what the mission organization is all about. The Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children was created to honor the life of Joseph. Well, that's just really beautiful. Now here you can see, very important box, the revenue box. if we take a look at this number, the prior year, which would have been in what, 2019, when Daddy was sort of contemplating running for office, Joe Biden was, oh, we're going to run in 2019, announces. We have, a big portion of that year was spent running, and then all of 2020 is running. Look what happens in the revenue for the 2020 year. We saw this same pattern with the Hillary Clinton people. Okay, and you might just say, well, Rob, I mean, obviously, there's a lot more attention now. A lot more people hear it. This is just natural growth that is associated with a political person's career. As they're working their way up, right, they just sort of get more exposure and they generate more revenue, or they get more power and they get paid more money from different people to secure services. And they just use one charity into the next. So in 2019, 700,000, 2020, well, when we know that he's going to be shafted into the White House, they say 3.79, so about 3.8 million bucks came in that year. A lot of money. It's good. It's a good business if you can get into it. A lot of people will just pour money to you because they know that you can be bought. Here, this continues on. We see some of the expenses look like, revenue, less expenses. We've got some pretty big expenses here. Salaries, compensation, $600,000 in 2020, $562,000 in 2019. We see other expenses, total expenses, about $1 million bucks each year. And then revenue less expenses, they're sitting on a big bucket of cash here. 2.9 million bucks. End of year total assets is now up to 3.5 million, less their liabilities. So that looks like what sort of looks like what's in the bank is a 3.3 million bucks. Now, a lot of that money you might say would be better served not in a bank as a slush fund for the Bidens. Maybe it would be useful if they spent some of that on providing services to children, but that would be silly because this is Washington. Here you can see they give us a little bit more detail on some of this. Let's see here. Here is the statement of the program service accomplishments. Now, I know it's not interesting to read through these tax returns, but this is what they say that they're doing to help the youth throughout America. The Beau Biden Foundation is for protecting children. It also says that they have expenses here, $544,000. Now, remember that we just learned that they've got $3.3 million in the bank. 500 of that was spent on, I guess, the accomplishments. Let's see what these are. Grants of $1,100, revenue of $9,000. What'd they do? The foundation trained 7,500 adults to recognize the signs and symptoms of abuse and to minimize opportunities. 3,000, oh, so this is great, right? 3,000 teachers and medical professionals, online courses, more than 5,000 students, 2,000 parents learn the significance of good digital citizenship, whatever that means. I guess have to be polite and don't bully on the internet. The urgency to stay safe online, critical need to interrupt bullying. Yeah, so this is great. The Shield of Protection, the foundation worked with more than 50 youth-serving organizations across 20 states in its program, the Shield of Protection. Well, that's just, I wonder if that shield has a Joe Biden repellent. Hopefully so. But yeah, okay, so I don't know if any of that's true. What are these courses that they're putting out there? Who are these 3,000 teachers? Did they sign up for a course? Did they actually show up to the course? How long did they stay on that course? These are metrics that are pretty valuable. If you run a webinar, or if you make videos on YouTube, you kind of, how many people click? How many people watch? How long do they watch? Do they take anything meaningful from it? Do they leave a comment, like, or subscribe? I hope they do. But if something that, here, did they just like spam a bunch of ads out there and said, hey, we have 2,000 people sign up for this thing and nobody showed up for our 45-minute webinar and we helped change the lives of 2,000 students? Probably is what it looks like, but I can't verify that one way or the other. Nobody can. That's the whole purpose of this thing. They can just put whatever they want in this big fat paragraph and nobody can check into it. Nor will they, because they are in charge of Washington, right? Let's take a look at who was on the board of this charitable organization. Here you can see that in 2020, now a lot of these people are no longer on the board since Daddy got elected, but they were on the board, and I wonder why that might be. Very curious. Now, to be fair, I am on the board. I'm moving to the advisory board soon enough at ericshouse.org for some of these reasons, right? Because it is interesting when you start to see sort of a whole family on a board. Now, we're not generating millions of dollars, unfortunately. If we did, we'd be able to provide a lot more services. If you want to donate over at ericshouse.org, that'd be helpful and useful. But there are ways that organizations start. When we first started our charitable organization, we didn't have anybody else to put on a board. There was no board. It was me, my mom, and Greg, my father. We had a whole relationship that we sort of started, and then built, and we continue to build. And so now it's appropriate for us to move. So that's not what I'm talking about. That's okay. The people should move around this board, but let's pay attention to some of these other people. We've got Patricia Daly Lewis. She's the executive director. We're going to learn a lot more about her. She got a nice salary. Who is this woman? $150,000 a year. Woo, that's nice compensation. Below her, now she worked 40 hours a week, I'm sure, we're working really hard for this, says that Joshua Alcorn, chief operating officer, he also got another $131,000, 40 hours a week. Maybe they were working 40 hours a week for their 2,000 students. I don't know. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But some other interesting people on this board. We have Hallie Biden. Now, Hallie was married to Beau. Hallie is down here. She was married to Beau for some period of time. And so they were in a long relationship until she started sleeping with Hunter for whatever reason after Beau died, and some weird stuff going on there. So she's on the board of this thing. We have Fred Sears. We have Hunter Biden. You can see him down here with his brother Beau, and Hunter's not looking good in that photograph. You know, put on a suit and tie, but he's not looking particularly good. We have some other people who stand out. In particular, where is this fella? The Honorable Louis Frey. So we've got some family on this. We got the Hunter, the Hallie. We've got several people getting significant amounts of money for their services provided to this organization. And let's learn a little bit more about them. Here is the first person. We've got Patricia Daly Lewis. Here, she worked for Beau Biden, actually. She was the deputy attorney general under Beau Biden. So she was sort of part of his elected team over there in Delaware. She runs the nonprofit, $150,000. Charity spent a total of $932,000. A large chunk of that went to these salaries. Okay, $500 went to actual services or to grants or whatever was paid out. But then another $300 or let's see, $281,000 went out to salaries. She also got a $3,500 bonus for running this charity. Similarly, we have this fella. Now, you probably don't recognize him. He's not a Biden, but some interesting stuff going on with him. He is the former director of the FBI. His name is Louis Frey. He gave $100,000 to a trust for two of Biden's grandchildren. Who does that? Former FBI director Louis Frey has an extra $100,000 sitting around to just donate over to Biden's grandchildren as he sought to, quote, pursue some very good and profitable matters with him. We're going to look at this email next. Frey apparently made the gift in April 2016 when Biden was outgoing vice president. And shortly before, he told Biden's son, "I'd be delighted to do future work with you, Hunter." Here's the email. You can see here on July 8th, 2016, when Daddy was on his way out, Hunter Biden is saying, "Thank you, Judge. Looks like we may have caught a break with the publication of the ruling on the abuse of office statute. According to G, it clearly states cases fitting the exact description." Can't see really what it says here. "Please keep me informed. So honored you have agreed to take this on. Thank you, Hunter." He responds, it says, "Hunter, thank you, Hunter. And I thank you. Hunter and I," so he's forwarding this from Louis Frey to somebody, don't know who it is. "Hunter and I would be delighted to do future work with you. I also spoke to Dad a few weeks ago and would like to explore with him some future work options." I think talking about Biden. "I believe that would be working together on these and other legal matters would be of value, fun, and rewarding. This decision, which I will read over the weekend in translation, is very timely indeed. I see G tomorrow. Will convey your regards. Have a great weekend and our love to Mom and Dad. Warm regards, Louis." So talking about some pretty interesting business here. Future work with you. And we are going to donate, in order to accomplish that, $100,000 to your grandchildren. Now, where does that money go? It says here, "Dear Hunter, good afternoon from Europe." This is coming from Louis Frey, former FBI director. "I hope you and your family had a great Easter. Had a good meeting in Bucharest with the SRI director, and we're hopeful may have a positive impact on the case. As you know," he writes, "our family foundation gave a $100,000 contribution to Hallie's Children's Trust last year, 100 grand. My accountants say that the grant didn't go through to a 501c3, which is the trust, right? Because that's a trust. That's not a charity. That's for their kids. They're going to use that money to go to Disneyland or whatever. And so that is now different. So that's a taxable event. They got 100,000 bucks. Where's that going for? Here, they're saying, well, it didn't go to a 501c3. And now it's not a proper foundation gift. So we've been in touch with the IRS, and they're going to correct the situation as follows. I'm going to make a new $100,000 gift to Hallie, and Hallie's trust is going to reimburse the foundation by paying it $100,000. moving money around between all these funds. The trust is going to go back over there, going to reimburse the foundation. Our foundation, you see what's happening here? He says, I can handle this with the lawyers, and I wanted to let you know before doing anything so it's clear what we're trying to do. Please call me when you get this information. The IRS has given us a May 5th response date. Sorry for the extra burden. Best regards and warm regards to Hallie, Dad, and Mom. Love, Louis. So I was asking, he's not really part of the Biden family, but he kind of is. He's given $100,000 to Hallie's kids, Biden's grandkids, so that they can pursue what he said, fun, rewarding, and things of value. Louis Frey. So the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children, not really protecting too many children. Instead, gobbling up a bunch of money, millions of dollars for the bank accounts and for their cronies, people who used to work for Beau, people who are donating money over to Joe Biden's charitable foundation and to his trust for his grandkids. They'll continue to do work together. Just make sure you send over that $100K, make sure it lands nicely in Hallie's trust. So the Biden crime family continues on. We'll continue to follow it along. It's not going to stop anytime soon. We've got several more years of this, and we look forward to continuing to cover it, and we hope you join us on that journey. I would love it if you subscribed and stuck around a while, because I look forward to seeing you on the next one.